Welcome to OOTO TV, the out-of-the-office investigation into the future of health. This time we're discussing something huge. Life changes in an instant by personal choice. I'm Alex.
And I'm Ben. You know, Alex, we're tackling a pretty wild idea today, aren't we? This idea that your entire life, your whole trajectory, can really, truly change in a single moment. It sounds like something out of a movie.
It really does. But we're investigating this powerful, almost controversial idea that profound, lasting transformation doesn't have to be this long, slow, agonizing climb. We're talking about the power of an instant decision, a single moment where everything you thought was permanent suddenly isn't. And today, we're going to explore the psychology behind it and how you can actually use it to change everything.
And honestly, this Joan Didion quote just sets the stage perfectly. Life changes in the instant, the ordinary instant. I just love that because it feels so true. The most pivotal moments of our lives, they almost never come with a big announcement or a clap of thunder, do they?
No, not at all. It's usually a random Tuesday afternoon, you're doing something completely mundane, and then click, something inside you shifts, a decision is made, and you know deep down that nothing will ever be the same. That ordinary instant has all the power in the world.
Exactly. And to really get our heads around this, we've broken today's explainer into a 6-part journey. We're going to kick things off by busting the myth of slow change. Then we'll get into the good stuff, the power of the instant and the science behind it.
From there, we'll look at the psychology of epiphany, those aha moments. And then, and this is key, we'll figure out how to go from spark to lasting habit. We'll even cover becoming architects of your mindset. And then we'll wrap it all up with your life, your instant. So, let's get into it.
All right, let's start with a feeling I think everyone listening knows, just being completely and utterly overwhelmed. I was scrolling through Reddit, and this post just jumped out at me. It was from someone who felt like they were getting buried by life, losing a loved one, getting married, moving to a new city, starting a new job, all at once.
Oh, wow, that is an avalanche of stress. And you can just feel it, right? That feeling of standing at the bottom of this impossibly huge mountain and thinking, there is just no way I can climb this. And that's exactly where this myth we're talking about gets its power. We're just conditioned to see change as this giant, terrifying monster.
It really is. And that feeling is so baked into our experience that psychology actually has categories for it. First, you've got your evolutionary crises. These are the ones we kind of see coming down the road, like the turmoil of adolescence or a midlife crisis where you start questioning who you are.
Right.
But then you get hit by the situational crises, and these are the real curveballs. The sudden job loss, the unexpected illness, the divorce you never saw coming. These are the things that completely knock the wind out of you. And they reinforce this idea that getting back on your feet has to be this long, hard, painful slog.
Exactly. When you're at the bottom of that mountain, it feels impossible. We've been told our whole lives through every story and movie that the only way up is one slow, painful, grueling step at a time. That's the narrative we all buy into.
But here's the question. What if that's just a story? What if the struggle itself isn't the point? What if there's a totally different way to look at it? And that's exactly what we're here to investigate today.
And this, right here, brings us to the core, the most exciting part of this whole discussion. Life changes in an instant. It is not about the years of struggle to climb the mountain. It's about that one single, solitary second where you look up and you truly, finally decide you're going to take that first step. That's it. That's the whole game. That decision, that deep internal commitment, that's where all the power is. Everything else is just the follow-through. The change itself, the actual pivot, happens in a flash.
And man, this Tony Robbins quote just hits the nail on the head. Change is never a matter of ability. It's always a matter of motivation. It's not about whether you can do it. Let's be honest, most of us know what we need to do. You know you can put down the donut. You know you can go for a walk. The ability is already there.
Exactly. The real question is, why would you? What's the reason that's so powerful it makes it a must? It's about finding a motivation so strong that I really should do this transforms into an absolute ironclad I must do this. And that leap from should to must, that is the instant we are talking about.
Or I absolutely love this analogy from Nerd Fitness. For anybody who's seen The Matrix, you know that incredible moment when Neo finally sees the world for what it is? Not buildings and people, but just streams of green, cascading code.
It's the perfect way to explain it. The world around him didn't physically change at all, not one bit. But his perception, his fundamental understanding of reality, it shifted in a heartbeat. And from that second forward, he could never go back. He could never unsee the code. That's the power of an instant mental shift. Everything is different, even when nothing has physically changed yet.
And Alex, this leads us to a really critical point from the research, something we absolutely have to get across. We must declare life changes in an instant by personal choice and can significantly impact your health.
This is the entire thesis. That moment you decide for real to stop smoking, or to finally put your mental health first, or to completely change your relationship with food, that is when the real transformation kicks off. And the positive ripple effects on your physical and mental health, they start right then and there. You're listening to OOT TV with research by author Paul Bulow.
So if we accept that this instant change is possible, the next logical question is, well, how? How do you actually make that happen? Because it's not some kind of magic trick. There's real psychology behind it, a documented phenomenon.
Right, there's a mechanism that makes this sudden shift happen. And if we can get a handle on that mechanism, we can start to create these breakthroughs for ourselves instead of just hoping lightning strikes someday.
And that mechanism is a concept Tony Robbins calls leverage. This is the secret sauce. Leverage is that emotional tipping point. It's the force that takes a fuzzy, vague desire like, I should probably get in shape, and turns it into a full-blown, non-negotiable command from your brain.
It turns it into, I must get my health under control, starting this second. It's all about finding an emotional trigger so powerful that not changing suddenly feels way more painful than whatever effort it takes to change. That's the moment the switch flips.
And this is just a brilliant way to understand how to create that leverage. Robbins uses the story of Scrooge from A Christmas Carol as the ultimate model. Remember, the three ghosts don't just lecture him, they force him to feel the crushing, intense pain of his choices.
It's such a great framework. It's a three-part emotional assault on his complacency. First, you have the ghost of Christmas past, making him feel the pain of his past inaction. Then the ghost of Christmas present shows him the immediate pain his actions are causing right now. And finally, the gut punch, the ultimate unbearable pain of a future where he dies completely alone and forgotten.
That's it. By linking this overwhelming pain to his bad habits across his entire timeline, past, present, and future, he has nowhere to run. Change becomes the only sane, logical, and emotionally necessary path forward. I love that. And psychological research actually has a name for this moment. They call it chispazo, which is a fantastic Spanish word for spark. It's that eureka moment, that click when a new way of seeing things just makes everything clear. A patient in one of the studies we looked at described it so well. They said it's like you give your therapist a giant tangled ball of Christmas lights, and in one session, they hand it back to you perfectly untangled. In that single moment, it all makes sense. That's the spark. That's the epiphany. Okay, but here's the make or break part, Ben. A spark, a chispazo, is amazing. It's powerful, but it's not enough by itself. It's the starting gun, but you still have to run the actual race.
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you take that flash of incredible insight and hammer it into real, tangible, lasting change? This next section is the bridge. It's how you get from that instant decision to the day-to-day work that makes it stick.
Nerd Fitness has this incredible metaphor that I think is perfect. It's about turning the afterglow into an everglow. The afterglow is that high you're on right after a breakthrough. You feel unstoppable, you're motivated, you're excited, right?
Oh, we've all felt that. But we also know that, like any afterglow, it fades. Life happens, old patterns start to sneak back in. The real objective is to build an everglow, a permanent state where your new, better behaviors aren't something you have to think about anymore. They just become who you are, your new normal.
And the way you build that everglow isn't by trying to change a million things at once. You have to be strategic. And Charles Duhigg's research on the Keystone Habit is just a game changer.
This is such a powerful idea. It's about finding one small, manageable habit that, when you do it consistently, sets off a domino effect of positive change in all these other areas of your life. For some people, it's making their bed every morning. For others, it's a 5-minute walk. It's a small win that proves to your brain that bigger wins are absolutely possible.
This whole start small idea is also the core of the Japanese philosophy of Kaizen, which just means continuous improvement. You don't try to scale the entire mountain in one shot. No way. You just take one tiny, manageable step, and then another.
And every single small win builds on the last one. It creates momentum. It builds your self-belief. It's about making the progress so gradual that it feels easy, until one day you look back and you're halfway up the mountain wondering how you got there.
Okay, so we've got the spark and we've got the process. But there's one more layer to this, Ben, and honestly, it might be the most important. It's the foundation for everything else. Before you can even experience that instant of change, you have to truly, deeply believe that change is even possible for you. You're so right. You have to become the architect of your own mindset. Because if the foundation of your belief system is built on, I can't change, this is just who I am, then no amount of sparks or new habits is going to make a difference. You have to rebuild that foundation first. And this is where the incredible work of Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck is so critical. She identified these two fundamental mindsets. You have people with a fixed mindset who believe their intelligence and skills are just fixed. They're born with it. So they avoid challenges because failing would just prove they don't have what it takes. But then you have people with a growth mindset. They believe their abilities can be developed through dedication, effort, and hard work. For them, challenges aren't threats, they're opportunities to learn and get better. A growth mindset, that is the rich, fertile soil where the seed of instant change can actually grow.
And that connects perfectly to this incredible insight from the world of therapy. This quote is so powerful. You can't go back and change what happened in your past, but you absolutely can change the meaning you give it. You can change the story you tell yourself about it. You can literally reinvent your past.
It makes you think of Viktor Frankl, right? Finding meaning even in the most horrific circumstances. When you reinterpret your past, you're not denying it happened. You're just freeing your present and your future from its grip. You stop being a prisoner of your own story and you become the author. It is the ultimate power move.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. This has been a really cool journey. We've debunked the myth that change has to be a slow, painful grind. We've seen that it can all start with a single spark, that chispazo moment. But we also know that spark is useless without the right kind of fuel. It needs a growth mindset that says, yes, I can do this. And it needs the patient, consistent daily work of building small habits that create momentum. It's that beautiful marriage of the instant and the process.
And when you put those pieces together, the effect on your health and your life is just massive. The research points to some core principles that we have to state clearly. First, targeting life changes in an instant results in a significant impact on your mental and physical health. And second, targeting life changes in an instant exponentially leverages actualization, which is a fancy way of saying it unlocks your potential, and that results in improved mental and physical health. And finally, targeting life changes in an instant specifically for your own needs is how you build healthy routines and habits that actually stick. These aren't just motivational slogans. This is the real-world outcome when you decide to take the driver's seat in your own life.
Okay, now we've been super enthusiastic about this idea of instant change, and it is exciting. But we have to ground this in reality for a second. This is our 10% contrary view, the really essential reality check.
That's right, because while the decision, that mental commitment, can and does happen in a flash, the physical results, the hard work of rewiring years or even decades of old habits, well, that's a fire you have to show up and tend to every single day.
I think that's the perfect way to say it. The spark is the exciting part, maybe even the easy part. The real transformation happens in the quiet, consistent work of keeping that fire burning, day in and day out. Precisely, and that daily work can't just happen in a vacuum. It needs a solid foundation to stand on. And this brings us to our final and absolutely crucial takeaway. We have to state, targeting life changes in an instant requires you to have a basic routine, a health plan, a daily diet, and a sleep circadian routine and process to provide the desired result for mental and physical health. Your powerful, instant decision to change can't survive in total chaos. It needs the structure and support of these fundamental life processes. They are the scaffolding that makes your new commitment sustainable and turns that one-time spark into a true, lasting, life-altering transformation. So, we'll leave you with this one last thought. We've talked about the myth, the psychology, and the process. We've shown you that the power to completely redirect your life can be found in a single, ordinary moment of decision.
So the only question that really matters now is the one right here on the screen. What instant will you choose to change your life?